Welcome back to 3 and Out. I'm Brian Carter here with Ryan Orlovsky. Yes, he's related to the Lions QB Orlovsky. That being said, we're going to go ahead now and do our 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s Mount Rushmore of Sports. So let's kick it off with the 1980s. You can take it first.
1980s, I'm going to give my two guys. Brian's going to give his two guys. I'm going to start off with Wayne Gretzky. Alongside Messier, they led the Edmonton Oilers to 4 Stanley Cups in the 1980s, and Wayne Gretzky, 9 Hart trophies throughout his career. NHL record in 1986, 215 points and 163 assists. My next guy is going to be Joe Montana. 273 touchdowns, over 40,000 yards, and 4 Super Bowls. He won all of them. How can we forget the catch by Dwight Clark and all the great game-winning drives that Montana led the Niners and also the Chiefs in?
Sure. My Mount Rushmore of the 80s to round it out. I'm a little bit biased, but I can back it up with numbers. First is Ozzie Smith. Yes, Ozzie Smith, a lot of people don't think of him very much, but he's a Hall of Famer, no doubt. Took the Cardinals to 3 World Series during the 1980s in 82, 85, and 87, won one of those. And during that stretch won 10 Gold Gloves. That's every year. 10 out of 13 that he had in a row. Okay, then he had 9 times that he made an All-Star team out of his total 15 trips during the 80s. He was a Silver Slugger in 87, runner-up to the MVP award, NLCS MVP in 85, hitting a walk-off home run that, one of the most unlikely home runs of all time. And then my other Mount Rushmore of 80 in the 80s is going to be Larry Bird, who had 9 of 12 All-Star trips throughout his career during the 80s. He was a 3-time MVP just in the 80s. The Rookie of the Year, 2 Finals MVPs, an All-Star MVP, and 3 and 2 in NBA Finals. So 4 years in a row he took his team to the championship game, or the championship series, and a total of 5 times. And he won 3 championships in the 1980s. 3-point God, 38% from beyond the arc, and averaged a double-double in his career, 24.3 points a game, 10 rebounds a game, and even 6.3 assists per game. You can't beat that. Let's go with the 90s.
I agree. For the 90s, I'm going to be biased here, and I got the numbers as well. Mario Lemieux, Pittsburgh Penguins led him to 2 Stanley Cups in 1991, 1992, back-to-back with Jaromir Jagr. He had 779 points in the 80s, 3 Hart trophies, and 3 Conn Smythe trophies. Those Hart trophies are for the league's MVP, and the Conn Smythe trophy are for the playoff MVP. So
nice.
And also, me and Brian are going to agree on this fact right here that Barry Bonds, we don't believe he should get into the Hall of Fame. But we're going to put him on Mount Rushmore for the 1990s, solely because in the 1990s he wasn't taking steroids. The numbers he had before that should stand. And Bonds played 9 All-Star games in the 90s and also had 3 MVP awards. So for that right there, he deserves to be on Mount Rushmore.
I actually got this from Barry Bonds' old locker. Actually, it's a humongous steroid syringe. So it's pretty awesome. All right, so for the 90s, I'm going to go with, in the football world, Emmitt Smith. The guy was an 8-time Pro Bowler. He's 4-time led the league in rushing, 3 times that he led the league in touchdowns. 3 times he averaged over 100 yards per game. He had 1,000 yards rushing in every season but his rookie season during the 80s. And his rookie season wasn't all that bad either, 937 yards. That's not shabby. He was a Rookie of the Year and won MVP award, and that's just the AP MVP, because the football MVP award is very strange to figure out because they usually go with the AP as the big one, but then there's multiple MVP awards. And then we would be ridiculous for not mentioning Michael Jordan. He's incredible. 6 championships and 6 finals MVPs, all in the 1990s. 7 of his 10 scoring titles came in that span. He averaged 30.1 points per game in his career. That's ungodly numbers. 50% from field goal range throughout his career. 50%. That's 1 of every 2 shots he takes. And believe me, he didn't play down in the low post. He took some deep shots. 50%. 7 of 14 of his All-Star trips all came in the 90s. 4 MVP awards during that time. 2 All-Star MVP awards. 33.4 points per game in the playoffs in his career. Unbelievable. Let's go with the 2000s.
2000s, you got to give it to Michael Phelps, even though with the recent controversy he's been involved with.
Hey,
2 strikes, not 3 yet, but the guy's got 14.
He's high right now. He's on top of the world, man.
You got to put him on your Mount Rushmore for the 2000s. And also, Tiger Woods, 14 majors and 65 PGA Tour events. He's definitely got to be on the Mount Rushmore for the 90s.
Oh, is that for the 90s?
That's for the 90s. Or the 2000s, I mean.
2000s.
The 2000s. Tiger could actually probably go either way. But.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Mount Rushmore in my 2000s, Again, going to be a little biased, but again, I can back it up. Albert Pujols, a 2-time MVP, a World Series title, 7 All-Star trips, 4 Silver Sluggers at 3 different positions. No one's ever done that before. And is also a Gold Glove. You know, a lot of people harp on him not being an all-around player. Well, he's got a Gold Glove to prove it. 8 seasons now in the big leagues, and he didn't even play in the year 2000, so that's taking a year away. 8 seasons, 319 home runs, 1,531 hits. He's well on his way to Cooperstown. He's the only player in NBA or MLB history to hit 300, have 30 homers, drive in 100 runs in his first 8 seasons, and he is an incredible humanitarian because he does so much work for the less fortunate. So that's undeniable. And then you also can't deny Kobe Bryant, a spot here on Mount Rushmore. 2-time scoring leader, 35.4 points per game in 05 and 06. 10 of his 11 All-Star trips have been since the year 2000. His 1 MVP award, although he deserves more than that, and his 3-time All-Star Game MVP awards. And he's about the closest you're ever going to get to Michael Jordan. It rounds out our Mount Rushmore, so we hope that you agree with us on that. We actually thought about going in sports history all the way back, but that would be, you don't have enough faces on Mount Rushmore. So now it's time for our Piedmont Sports Minute. We're going to talk about softball and baseball. That starts now. So Ryan, go ahead and tell us what you think.
Well, the girls softball team starting out 0-4. They lost back-to-back doubleheaders here. The second was to Brenau, an NAIA school. I don't think they're going to have a tough season, really. I think the girls are going to get back on track. They really didn't lose that many games from last season, and I think it's similar to the baseball team. Kind of got off to a slow start, standing at 5-5 now. But the win over Greensboro College last weekend, I really feel, is a turning point for the baseball team. Corey Lindsey is off to probably the best start of his college career. And big games in North Carolina at North Carolina Wesleyan this weekend against Marietta College and North Carolina Wesleyan. Both of those teams have won Division III national championships. Montclair State will actually be in that tournament as well. They're a school out of New Jersey. So Piedmont can really get some points and move them up in the rankings here if they can have a good weekend.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the softball team getting off to a slow 0-4 start, but Brenau, not a team that to be reckoned with. I mean, they're 6-0 on the season, to start their season. So Brenau is a really strong team, and again, the baseball team hasn't had the easiest schedule either. I think when conference play comes around for both these teams, it's going to be fairly obvious that they are definitely good teams. Now it's time for Win That Booty. This being one of our last shows, we have a few things we're going to try to give away since we have overstock. Braves keychain, a Piedmont Lions wrist thingy, and how about $70 value roughly, a Thrashers jersey. So, worth winning. This guy named Latonin, I think he used to be a goalie or something.
I think his name is Letnin.
Letnin. I don't know hockey. I mean, so whatever, man. You get this question right, send it in. You'll get all that stuff in, maybe even a little more because we got a lot to give away. And the question is, Marvin Harrison is first among active leaders in career receptions. Name the second and third players on that list. That's not that hard to figure out. So all you do, again, is send in an email and you'll win all that, win the booty. We're out of time, and we wish we weren't. Shoot us an email or check us out on YouTube and MySpace. I'm Brian Carter.
I'm Ryan Orlovsky.
That was 3.
And we're out.
We're out.